right, great. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us here today for the SpectrumX Spring 2025 Center meeting. Well, we'd love to be in person. The logistics didn't support that this year, so we had to pivot to a virtual meeting, and hopefully this will be an engaging opportunity for everybody to learn more about SpectrumX and also share updates on recent work. So as a way of introduction, my name is Scott Palo. I'm the Associate Director of SpectrumX and professor at the University of Colorado Boulder, Department of Aerospace Engineering Sciences, and we'll be kicking off the meeting here, and then I'll be turning it over to Nick Laneman, who will be providing more updates on the center in this first session. So can we go to the next slide, Emily? Thank you. So, first off, we want to welcome everybody who's participating. We're excited to have 137 attendees registered for the center meeting over the next 3 days. That includes participants from academia, government, industry, and nonprofits. Additionally, we have about 40% of the participants are students, and a little over 60% are non-students. So we're thrilled to have a very robust student participation, and look to engage with them over the poster sessions that we have. So what we like to do at the start of the meeting here is to give an opportunity for any new members or anybody from the community who is coming to a SpectrumX meeting for the first time and would like to introduce themselves. And what we would like to ask is that if you're new and would like to introduce yourself, if you could raise your hand and come off of turn on your camera if that's a possibility, and then I can go around and call on people to do introductions. So don't be shy. I'm sure we have some new folks here. I see some new faces, or at least folks that I haven't interacted with previously. So again, if you're new, please want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. All right, great.
Sorry, couldn't get my camera on. Chris Simmons. I'm based in Boston area. I'm just very interested to learn what's going on in this group. I've got a long background in radio communications, cellular, as well as industry and academia.
Great. Thank you so much, Chris. We're happy to have you. Looks like Ryan, you have your hand up.
Hi, I'm Ryan Van Zalen. I'm a student that just joined on the semester helping out in Zoya Popovic's group with Lila Marzal, working on a portable phased array project where I'm doing the frequency converters.
Excellent. I know we'll be hearing more about that work in the flagship project update. So, glad to have you here and engaging with us. Do we have any others? Give it another few seconds here for anybody to raise their hand. It looks like we have an introduction in the chat from, I think it's Ishrat. Is that correct?
Yeah, hello.
Hi, Ishrat. Yeah, I'll let you introduce yourself, and thank you for turning on your camera so everybody can see you.
Yeah, thank you. Nice meeting all of you.
And so you're at University of Albany, working on a PhD with Dr. Maria Shelova. So I know Maria's been very involved, and we're excited to have engagement with her students. So Are you doing a poster? Or are you just
Yes, but
excellent?
not, yeah,
Well, we look forward to hearing more. Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
All right. Last call for introductions. Seeing no more, we will move to the next slide. So just wanted to give a high level overview of what we're trying to accomplish here with the SpectrumX Spring meeting over the next 3 days. We have the opening session here be going on for about the next 50 minutes, where we want to just give an overview of the center for everybody that's new, provide some updates of what's been happening over the last 6 to 12 months for both new members and people who are just curious and participating, in addition to our center members. Then we're going to have a number of centers that are really focused on showcasing the really interesting and exciting SpectrumX research that is going on. Today, we'll be having research plenary talks a little bit later. Tomorrow, we'll be giving updates on the two flagship projects that are going on within SpectrumX. And so if you're new and aren't aware of the flagship project, you'll get an overview about what we're trying to accomplish through those highly interdisciplinary projects. We'll have an update tomorrow also on a really interesting program where we have members of SpectrumX who are working as liaisons with the NTIA. It's a very, unique program where we have academics working hand in hand with folks at the NTIA to study and consider some ongoing interesting research projects. And then both late in the day on Monday and Tuesday, our last session on both days are our poster session. And obviously that'll be virtual and is run through a tool called GatherTown. So always excited to see the interesting posters that are happening. Then we'll, in addition to talking about the research projects, we want to talk, about the broader policy engagement that we have going on within the center. So the, SpectrumX is not just a research center, but also trying to engage significantly in the policy sphere to understand and help address ongoing spectrum challenges. And we'll have a couple of panels going on here. So after the plenary each morning, we have on Monday. So today, after this session, we'll have a government panel. On Tuesday, we'll have an industry panel. And on Wednesday, we'll have an academic panel. So we'll be getting perspectives from different elements of the community. And then also on Wednesday, we'll be diving into updates on the work that's going on with regards to developing curriculum and education, in addition to how we're helping to train the next generation spectrum workforce to meet the needs of the country. And then we also want to have a discussion on Wednesday about sustainability of the center. Where are we headed? What are the next steps? How do we grow engagement with federal agencies and demonstrate the value proposition that that SpectrumX brings? Next slide, please. So a little bit deeper dive on the agenda for today. So after I finish here, Nick will be doing some broader overview on the center. Mentioned our government panel fireside chat. So Nick will be the moderator on that session. We have Charles Cooper, Ira Keltz, Tom Rondeau, and Duncan McGilvery participating, bringing their perspectives. Then after that session, we will have a half-hour break. We encourage everybody to hop over to the GatherTown app to get some familiarity and get logged in and give it a test run, as that's what we'll be running for the poster session later in the afternoon. Also give an opportunity to engage with folks through that tool. And then after the break, we will jump into 5 research plenary talks. Each one of these talks is being presented by a SpectrumX researcher on work that they've been doing over the past, let's say, couple of years. Some of the projects are maybe a little bit newer in the types of interesting research and results that are coming in. And then prior to the poster session, we're like to give everybody who has a poster a very short minute to give a quick overview and give a motivation for folks to come see their poster. So those are our lightning talks. Next slide, please. Also wanted to recognize the administrative team with SpectrumX that helps pull all these things together and makes the center go. So I would ask, go around the horn here. So I'll start with Emily to come up on camera and say a quick hello and maybe a very brief comment on what your role is within SpectrumX and supporting the center.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Case. I'm a research project manager here at Notre Dame. And my role within the center is basically meeting facilitator. So I help keep us scheduled with our meetings, meeting agendas, and keep kind of everything moving along. So welcome to everybody, and we hope you enjoy the center meeting this week.
Thank you, Emily. Stephanie?
Hi, y'all. Yes, my name is Stephanie Loney. I am the communications specialist for SpectrumX. So essentially, any of the communications that you receive, anything you see on LinkedIn for the most part, as well as things on the web are under my domain. So as you get email updates throughout the week, that's from me. And it's just great to be part of this and looking forward to a great week with everyone.
Thank you, Stephanie. Talia. We have Talia on. There you are.
Hi, I'm Talia. I'm also a research project manager at Notre Dame. And I help out on SpectrumX with a lot of budget and sub-award stuff, and then fill in also for events like these and work very closely with Emily and Stephanie and Julie.
And I will shout out to Talia, who I know is remote in a Pacific time zone, and oftentimes has to get on very early for some of our meetings. So we very much appreciate that. And thank you, Talia. And Julie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Julie, and I am the administrative coordinator here at SpectrumX. So I handle the administrative side of things and kind of keep everything organized and moving along. So we're excited for this week and looking forward to it.
So I want to say that that's the team that makes things run to the back of the house, and there is a lot of work that they take on here to make the rest of us look good. So we very much appreciate all that effort from the administrative team. And I will let Nick introduce himself when we pivot over to the next section. So yes, big round of applause for all of our administrative team. All right, and Emily, if we can go to the next slide, and I will let you take this one.
Thank you. So, over the next 3 days, we have developed some swag giveaways and opportunities for everybody to get engaged. So the QR code that you see on your screen will take you to a little bit more detail. And I can also drop that in the chat here as well, so you can see that too. But basically, you've got 2 ways to earn some entries. The first is just to attend a full session. The second is to ask a question, whether that's live or through the chat. We will be marking those down. The more entries you get, the more chances you have to win. So if you ask multiple questions, you'll get multiple entries. And we have some SpectrumX gear that we will be making available to all of our winners. And so a member from our team will reach out to you all that have won to work out logistics and find out what you would like. But each day we will be announcing the winners via a daily wrap-up email. And then we will also highlight those winners the morning or afternoon, depending on where you're at, of the next day as well. So if there's any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us on the admin team, but hopefully that QR code works. I checked it, but if you have any issues accessing that document, please let us know.
So, and I was going to say, Emily, had a question about what kind of cool swag that's out there for SpectrumX, and
Sure.
and I wanted to ask that question so I can get a point too.
Noted. So we have some stickers, we have pens, we have a notepad, we have some really cool t-shirts. And at the end of our meeting on Wednesday, we'll be drawing for a grand prize winner, which will receive a SpectrumX branded quarter zip, which I actually believe Nick is wearing right now. So those are just some of the prizes, and depending on how many Spectrum bucks you collect, you can pick more than one prize. And all of those details again are on the on that document that I sent out in the chat for everybody.
And I will say, when I'm using my SpectrumX pen, people always ask me where they can get one. So those are definitely a crowd pleaser.
Yep.
All right. Next slide, please. All right. So we're gonna now pivot over to getting into the overview of the center and the update. And so I'm gonna turn it over to Nick Laneman, and Nick is the center director and professor at the University of Notre Dame, for those of you that don't know him, but I feel like wherever I go, everybody knows him, so I don't think he needs a lot of introduction, but he can also tell you a little bit more about his background. So,
all right. Thank you, Scott. Well, as Scott said, welcome everyone. We're excited to have you with us here for our center meeting here in the spring of 2025. This is our first time doing a fully virtual center meeting, so we're experimenting with some new things. And as Scott said, the admin team is here to help us navigate through all that. They've been, beta testing these various tools and coming up with these plans for interactive sessions. But if you have questions, feel free to ask via chat or email. So for the next 35 minutes or so, the purpose of this portion of the session is really twofold. For folks who are new or relatively new to SpectrumX, we want to get you oriented to all the cool things that we're doing as the National Spectrum Research Center. And each time you see these presentations, hopefully you get a little bit better sense of the breadth and the depth of the things that we're doing. For those of you that have been around for a while, we've got a new way of kind of characterizing everything we're up to and all the progress we're making. And so we would love your feedback on this new version of characterizing our activities in various ways. So next slide, please. Of course, the backdrop for SpectrumX is really from the the Spectrum Innovation Initiative at NSF. And that was in turn inspired by a growing number of these sort of national challenges around making better use of the radio spectrum. There's some examples here, interactions or collisions, if you will, in the spectrum, adjacency issues between 5G cellular and aviation, 5G millimeter wave with weather forecasting, satellite constellations potentially affecting radio astronomy on the ground. And then, of course, there was a big push around the National Spectrum Strategy, which we'll be talking about more today, and the need for a workforce. And so this motivated the Spectrum Innovation Initiative to create the National Center for Wireless Spectrum Research, and SpectrumX won that award. So if you hit advance the slide here, the solution that SpectrumX is trying to provide is to create a national level coordination of a really fantastic team of interdisciplinary researchers, policy experts, and educators to work on these tough coexistence and spectrum sharing problems, and also train the next generation workforce, but all in collaboration with industry and government stakeholders. And so if you go to the next slide, the simple version of that is we wanted to create an academic hub in the radio spectrum ecosystem. Historically, it's been hard for academics to engage. maybe certain academics have engaged to one degree or another as individuals, but now we have a fairly large team and a growing number of academics that are interfacing and getting involved in this radio spectrum ecosystem with lots of other activities that are going on across both industry and government. Next slide, please. So this is a quick status, the map of SpectrumX. As you see, we have 30 member institutions spread all across the country. Many top universities are involved. This is a really unique opportunity because it's being operated in the context of a memorandum of agreement that was established between the NTIA and the FCC, the two regulatory bodies for spectrum in the United States, and the NSF. The purpose of that agreement, and we'll talk more about this in our government panel today, the purpose of that agreement is to ensure that the Spectrum Innovation Initiative is relevant and offers impact, insights, and options to policymakers as we go forward. So our team now is just over 150 academic researchers, many leading experts, as well as developing students and postdocs in the field. We are collaborating with 20 organizations now across industry and government. I'll talk more about this in a bit, but we have 8 working groups. So we take this big enterprise and break it up into different working groups. We've also built a really stellar team of external advisors who help us be strategic, build relationships, and take advantage of opportunities as we go forward. For context, we're about 3.5 years into our 5-year award from NSF. And we've also been able to secure some additional funding from other government agencies, as well as some of our corporate partners as well. Next slide, please. So I alluded to this. We have 8 working groups. They're shown here. Each working group has a certain set of responsibilities to help the center move forward. There's research, education and workforce development, policy outreach or policy engagement, broadening participation, collaboration, facilities, and administrative. And then we have a wrapper working group called strategic coordination that helps all of those different leaders in those groups coordinate, and also we interface externally. And so it's a pretty broad set of activities that we have built up in SpectrumX. It's a very scalable model. If we identify new opportunities or new directions, we can situate projects in these working groups. So for example, the facilities working group is relatively new. It's only been active in the past year. And the purpose of that group is to start engaging with a number of test beds that are out there already and from parallel investments. And so again, it's a pretty flexible, scalable model that we've been pretty happy with so far. There's plenty of opportunity to get involved in more than one of these working groups. In fact, we encourage members and affiliates of SpectrumX to get involved in 3 or more so that they get a cross-section of the activities and contribute across our center. Next slide, please. So we've got a great leadership team, and we've got Scott and I kind of already introduced ourselves. You'll be seeing many of these leaders throughout the center meeting, so I won't formally introduce them here. But the structure is that for each working group, we're working toward having a director and deputy director to spread the load and also to have that backup opportunity when needed. One thing I want to particularly highlight on this slide is that Song Shen is stepping into the role of collaboration deputy director. So we're really grateful that he wants to get involved and utilize some of his industry experience to help us expand our outreach and engagement with industry members. You'll be seeing Song tomorrow in our industry panel. If you could go to the next slide, please. This slide focuses on our research leadership. You'll kind of come to realize, if you haven't already, that the research enterprise in SpectrumX is pretty sophisticated. We've got activities going on at different scales and with different levels of project management. And so historically, in recent years, we've had Mike Honig as our research director. Frank Lind joined as deputy director a little over a year ago. Mike is going to be stepping back from the leadership role to focus on his research within SpectrumX, as well as some other responsibilities. And so another announcement for today is that Randy Berry, also from Northwestern, is going to be stepping into the role of research director going forward. You'll be hearing from Randy. He'll be emceeing or session chair for the research plenaries this afternoon. and also moderating the academic panel on Wednesday. We've got, in addition to these large projects, and we'll talk about the flagship projects. We also select seed investments. We have research communities, which are breaking down the overall field into different areas of technology and policy. And so these communities meet on a fairly regular basis every 2 weeks, and exchange ideas, meet new people, come up with new ideas and potentials for collaborations. And so we've got leadership, Maria, Al, and Ilya leading those research communities. You'll be seeing several of them as session chairs for our poster sessions today and tomorrow. So those are a lot of the people involved in SpectrumX. Everyone's, again, great leaders, great team members, very open to reaching out to them and asking them questions of how you might get more involved in SpectrumX. In fact, it looks like Scott already responded to someone's comment there. The purpose of this is for you to understand who to reach out to and encourage you to go ahead and do that outreach, because we're intended to be a pretty big and welcoming and inclusive center. All right, next slide, please. So we get to ask the question once in a while: how do you characterize the results of SpectrumX? What are the big takeaways? What are the big wins? And so the next few slides are going to kind of summarize those for you. This is an overarching slide. Like, if I were to take a 10,000-foot view so far, what are the biggest outcomes that we've seen from this investment in SpectrumX? The first two in the upper left are really some research breakthroughs, in my opinion, and I think many members of our team would agree with that. We're really rallying around this notion of building advanced sensors and coexistence platforms, essentially the extremes of software-defined radios in terms of big and high bandwidth and very sophisticated processing, to the other extreme, very small, low cost, widely distributable. Being able to collect data from such devices into a common data platform and visualize it and apply AI ML tools. That vision is something that we are in the process of building, and you'll hear a lot more about that in our flagship Project 1 tomorrow morning. At kind of another extreme, we've got engineers and economists thinking very carefully about the property rights issues of spectrum, or incentive mechanisms to get alternative regimes of spectrum rights. And so this is one of the hallmarks, and there's been a lot of interesting papers that's been generated through these collaborations as well. So again, we'll go into more details about research, but these to me are some of the big takeaways that we'd like to highlight. In terms of outreach, we've engaged in a number of regulatory proceedings. We've submitted formal comments. We've offered written and spoken opinions in various sessions. But perhaps most visibly, several of our faculty, 3 now, have been involved in 4 congressional hearings testifying about spectrum issues. So those are very visible, often very tense conversations. But these folks have been great. Monisha, Whitney, and Tom Hazlett have been involved in those hearings in the last couple of years. When it comes to workforce development, we've got a really comprehensive plan for providing curricula starting at middle school and going all the way up into higher ed. The middle school curriculum has been out and translated into Spanish. And so, as we'll see, it's been used by a growing number of students. At those levels, we've got a summer school and an REU program that is also multi-institution. So many different organizations here in SpectrumX are getting involved in that, and again, giving students, a growing number of students, hands-on experiences with those kinds of projects. We've been building relationships with federal agencies that use spectrum and/or regulate spectrum. So we actually have additional funding from the NTIA through what we call our liaison projects, and we'll be providing some highlights on those tomorrow. We are in the process of starting a project now for DoD as well. And we actually worked with the NTIA for one of its listening sessions around the National Spectrum Strategy. So a lot of relationship building and growth in terms of our engagement with federal agencies beyond just the NSF funding that we enjoy. And, in some ways, this is the first thing we did, but I think it's also, going to continue to grow and become a valuable resource. Just the fact that we've built this community. It's a large, diverse set of in terms of intellectual diversity, cultural diversity. We've got just a really, really powerful tool now. I think of us as like a workforce multiplier for spectrum issues, for the federal government, workforce development arm for industry. This is kind of exemplified by this photograph here, which shows most of the participants in NSF Spectrum Week 2024 that we organized last April. So we got not only our center activities, but also the other funded activities, spectrum-related activities that are funded by NSF, the SWIFT or New Spectrum program, the NRDZ program. We co-located the event with a major conference, IEEE DICE-BAN. And along the way, we also worked in some co-location with the National Spectrum Management Association and a workshop being put together by the NTIA for the National Spectrum R&D Plan. So that was a big event, and we look forward to hosting such events again in the future to bring the entire community together. But in the meanwhile, we've got our SpectrumX Center meeting, and as Scott said, we've got 134 something folks registered for the next couple of days, which is great. All right, so that's really broad strokes. What have we been accomplishing as a center? If we go to the next slide, we have, as part of our strategic planning process, we've established 6 top-level goals as a center. They're summarized here. I won't read them, but each one is heavily influenced and driven by one or more of our working groups. So the first one is really focused on research. The second goal is focused on education and workforce development. The third is broadening participation. The fourth is the collaboration and coordination mechanisms that we have. The fifth is really policy outreach, policy engagement. And the sixth is just, center operations and visibility. So we establish these goals. We set annual objectives and key results that as part of our planning process and our budgeting process. And so for the next few slides, I want to give you some highlights of our progress toward each one of these goals. So these are kind of macroscopic, cumulative highlights of everything that we're doing as a center. So if you could go to the next slide, please. So in research, as I've been kind of alluding, and you'll see more throughout the center meeting, we've been evolving the way that we structure research over time. Being a center like the one we have and having a cooperative agreement with NSF, we have an obligation to have an implementation plan. We can evolve that implementation plan over time. As we get feedback from the community and we identify new priorities or new ways of structuring things, research has gone through a significant amount of restructuring. So we're now organized around what we call flagship projects. These are pretty sizable in terms of scope, in terms of budget, heavy in terms of project management. And we think that these can really be impactful. The goal is to pursue policy relevant research, but to set the stage for us to have a lot of impact on the scientific community as well as on the policy community. I mentioned research communities. We make a fairly small investment to promote interactions in these meetings that happen periodically. It's basically an opportunity for new folks that are getting involved in the center to find an intellectual home and start to build relationships and build collaborations. These community meetings are also opportunities to start to develop new ideas and the beginnings of papers, proposals, and so on. And then when it makes sense, as it makes sense, we invite people to submit what we call seed project proposals. And these are small investments intended to, get some preliminary results, support a new collaboration, support new students, etc. And the idea being that by investing in making some of these investments, one of two outcomes are desired. One is that some of these ideas get integrated into the current or future flagship projects. Or another is that as you get these results, you can potentially pursue some parallel funding from outside the center. The last item I'll highlight is this notion of liaisons or direct collaborations with federal agencies. This was something we didn't plan when we first wrote our proposal to NSF, and the opportunity to start building collaborations and receive supplemental funding from the NTIA. And so that's something we very much leaned into. So on the right here, you've got some things that look like Post-it notes that highlight some of the key metrics that we've achieved. We have a one flagship project that is very much up and running. You'll hear more about flagship project 1 tomorrow. The second flagship project is on scientific coexistence, and that one is being very much planned out, and we're planning to issue the subaward updates to start to work on that project across the center. We've invested in 16 seed projects so far. We have or are planning to have 7 liaison topics. The flagship projects are really engaging a large cross-section of the center and a large number of graduate students. We've got a large number of measurement platforms, most of which we've built custom as part of our activities in SpectrumX. And in terms of the traditional metrics, we've got a lot of papers that are being published. A lot of this stuff is captured on our website, so you can find the conference journal publications there. The flagship team is developing what we call memos, which is an MIT Haystack project development tool. We do plan to publish the memos on the SpectrumX website and/or GitHub repositories over time. I don't think they're up yet, but they will be before too long. And the last thing is, as we are starting to build these systems, we're going to start tracking the software repositories that we have on GitHub. We currently have 6 of those. So we're starting to produce more and more stuff and make it available through the web. A little more details in the next few slides on research. If you could go one more slide. So as you'll learn more about tomorrow, I'm just introducing terminology here today. The flagship project 1 is focused on spectrum awareness. So again, pushing and advancing shared scalable sensing platforms, data platforms, spectrum data analysis platforms, and AI and ML, and largely inspired by and focusing on some of the bands that are called out for study in the National Spectrum Strategy. So this project in particular is zooming in on the 7 to 8.4 gigahertz band. And of course, part of the challenge is that a lot of the relatively low-cost software-defined radio tools that are out there aren't able to access spectrum above 6 gigahertz. So we're building an additional platform that can help us get into that frequency range and be able to take measurements and experiment with coexistence approaches into that range as well. So again, flagship 1, spectrum awareness. More on that tomorrow. Next slide, please. Flagship 2 is scientific coexistence in the high frontier. The driving issue is the fact that we're seeing more and more launches of low Earth orbit satellites. And what is the potential impact on radio astronomy stations on the ground that are looking up, or potential environmental sensing satellites that are looking down through those LEO constellations? If they happen to be higher, then they're looking down at the Earth and the oceans and so on through those satellite constellations. Again, this is in development. I think most of it is scoped out, and we'll hear some updates on the plans for this project tomorrow from Frank. Okay, next slide. I've been advertising these research communities, and you saw the leaders. We are currently operating 3 research communities that are broken down as follows. We've got economics, rights, and policy, technology and measurements, and then finally models, algorithms, and AI ML. So economics, rights, and policy is run by Ilya. Technology and measurements is run by Al, and the models, algorithms, and AI ML is run by Maria Jeleva. So we focus in certain areas here, and again, it's pretty informal. Students and faculty can volunteer to make presentations or put certain discussion items on the agenda. All kinds of different paper ideas, survey articles, tutorials, and the like have been developing out of these research communities. And it's a really useful way of inviting new affiliates who are just getting involved in SpectrumX to start to get involved and start to know the community and know what we're up to and how to get more involved over time. All right, next slide, please. So these liaison projects, we started primarily with the NTIA Institute for Telecom Sciences. I kind of started to pilot this idea with them around education and workforce development. And then the Office of Spectrum Management came up with some additional topics that were of interest. And so they've made some investments as well. So we're now, the top 4 activities are funded and have been going on for about a year and a half now. The bottom 3 are projects that we've added to this portfolio in the past year, and we're looking to fund as soon as possible. The idea here is that primarily the federal agency partners identify certain directions that they would like to have some support with. And then we go out through our network in SpectrumX and we identify a liaison, a point person who's going to cultivate the conversations with and meet the needs and develop ideas for deliverables to provide to the sponsor, but also bring in additional faculty expertise and recruit students to the projects as well. And so we're going to be hearing updates from most of these folks tomorrow. I'll be emceeing the session, so I won't present on the educational stuff. It's kind of taken the back burner in recent months. But we'll be hearing from Randy and Monisha and John, Song, Kobus, and Lisa tomorrow about the plans and the progress for these liaison projects, which, again, this was a new model that was brought to us because we were a big center and we had a lot of people we could draw from. And so it's something we hope to continue developing with NTIA and perhaps offering to other federal agencies as well. So that's everything on the research front. Again, it's probably the biggest fraction of our budget. It's the most sophisticated operationally, but it's not the only thing we do as SpectrumX. So the next few slides highlight some of our other goals and the corresponding working groups that drive them. So if you remember, goal 2 is all about training students, attracting students, preparing them for a workforce. And so that's our education and workforce development group primarily. We've got a number of activities there in terms of preparing new curriculum, thinking about spectrum management in modern ways, right? Attracting students to the field, hands-on experimentation, tinkering with various software and hardware stacks. So we have modules that were developed. There's 20 of them now that were developed for middle school and high school. Those have been posted online. Some of them were developed in concert with middle school and high school teachers. They have been piloted in schools, translated into Spanish. And so we're seeing a lot of engagement with that. The current tracking is 928 students so far getting involved with those grades 6 to 12 lessons. We're also developing curriculum. We have a plan to develop 4 courses for higher ed. The videos associated with the first of those courses have been released recently. So we can make sure that you get access to that if you haven't seen that announcement. That was developed in collaboration with a pretty broad cross-section of industry and government personnel to help us we're trying to help them tell the story of the important missions and goals that they have in their respective companies and organizations to try to excite students and get them drawn to the field. We've also had several rounds of what we call enhanced research experience for undergraduates. We've had a total of 48 students involved so far in undergraduate research, and then we have a cohort every summer that goes to one of 3 or 4 different SpectrumX locations. We're also doing a multi-institution summer school now for the second summer. Again, 4+ sites. Looks like Island just added a comment there. Maybe we're going to be at 5 sites for this year's summer school. And again, I think it was something like 61 students last summer that got involved in the summer school. Again, it's their first, often, in many cases, it's their first exposure to spectrum issues and radio technologies. And so it's a great way to get them engaged in this field. The last item to highlight is that in collaboration with the NRAO, we've developed a citizen science project. A citizen science, which is, citizen science kit, which is a fairly low-cost RTL SDR based module that we distribute. So 50 of those have been distributed through our programs to, again, provide opportunities for folks to understand a little bit of what's going on and draw them into the field. So one of our more exciting activities is getting the young folks excited about Spectrum, making Spectrum cool again, if you will. And this is a lot of progress in that direction. All right, next slide. For broadening participation, this is really focused on people. Finding people, meeting them where they are, identifying schools that produce many engineering undergraduates or physics undergraduates that we can try to attract to the field. When we start to approach these institutions and these individuals, but also the individuals that are in SpectrumX already. We offer professional development tools. We started with the intercultural development inventory. We've also done a lot of leadership, relying on leadership tools. And one of the projects that we've spun up under this activity is a smartphone-based broadband mapping project that students have really gotten excited about. There's a piece of software that Monisha and her team have developed called SICCAP. There are other tools like this, like that as well. But it's a way of onboarding students and getting them exposed in a lightweight way that starts with their existing cell phone, or if need be, we provide them with an Android cell phone to do this work. But this has been a way of reaching out and engaging new faculty affiliates and their students. As part of this overall process, we've created 9 new subawards from the original founding team. And as I said, we've done a lot of assessments to try to grow our not only our center, but the set of people involved in spectrum research and education more broadly. Next slide, please. Collaboration. This is the response. This goal number 4, really coordinating with industry and government, coordinating across the center. This is the responsibility now of 3 of our working groups: the Strategic Coordination Working Group, the Collaboration Working Group, and the Facilities Working Group. We think we've made a lot of progress here. We have a fantastic external advisory board, lots of very experienced, very wise folks that we've been able to attract to advise us. There's a photo of many of them there in that middle photo. We have a collaboration advisory board, which is primarily for industry. You see a number of industry partners here on the slide. There are currently 12 members of the Collaboration Advisory Board, including Qualcomm, Cable Labs, and a number of startup companies. We've also engaged heavily with, I mentioned the Memorandum of Agreement between the NTIA, FCC, and NSF. So at all of our EAB meetings, we invite them to serve as advisors. So, excuse me. We invite NSF, NTIA, and FCC to serve as observers during those coordination meetings. We also have a number of faculty that have gotten involved in external working groups like the Wind Forum or the NextG Alliance. I mentioned the Facilities Working Group has been spinning up. We've been reaching out to the Platforms for Advanced Wireless Research, or POWER platforms. For example, at the University of Utah, North Carolina State, Iowa State. They're shown here at the bottom. So looking for ways to make use of those platforms for our research, but also perhaps working together to evolve them to better support spectrum research going forward. There's also a sort of a sister program called the NRDZ, National Radio Dynamic Zones program. And so a couple of the power platforms are involved in the NRDZ program. And also MITRE is leading as the EEL, Engineering Execution Lead, for the NRDZ project. And so we've been engaging with them throughout this whole process. So again, this is largely plugging into the research, the R&D side of the ecosystem to make sure that we're identifying opportunities to collaborate. We're avoiding duplication of efforts wherever we can, trying to find synergies. And so this is going pretty well for us. Next slide, please. So having done a lot of work and built this community, we really wanted to create an interface to the policy sphere here. And so the policy working group and goal number 5 are all about engaging with policymakers, learning from them what the important issues are of the day. And so that's kind of outside in work, bringing in regulatory proceedings, bringing in issues being considered by Congress, et cetera. Inspiring our team to pursue research and collaborative projects and even educational projects to meet some of those concerns and be relevant to and impactful to those concerns. And then on the flip side, taking the results of the work that we do at SpectrumX and communicating them effectively to this audience. So that takes the form of participating in their various working sessions and panels that they have in their meetings. National Spectrum Symposium, for example, that the NTIA puts together. The Federal Communications Bar Exam has a number of meetings throughout the year. We also submit regulatory comments. So that's something that we're being very intentional about, trying to encourage faculty to step out of their comfort zone of writing traditional conference papers or journal papers but actually developing a comment and submitting it to an FCC proceeding or into an NTIA proceeding. And so you see that we've started to see that development. We're tracking a lot of proceedings. I mentioned earlier that several of our faculty have been called upon to testify before Congress on spectrum matters. We've really contributed significantly, or at least everywhere we could, for the National Spectrum Strategy, for the implementation plan of the National Spectrum Strategy, for the National R&D Plan, Spectrum R&D Plan. And so we've been really engaged on a lot of these fronts as well. All right, next slide. Goal 6 is really making the center visible and making sure that we operate efficiently, if I put it simply. So this is the responsibility of our administrative working group, many of whom you met at the beginning of this opening session. And so what we've done here is we've created a brand, the SpectrumX brand. We've tried to manage it as a brand. We've got a lot of swag. So I think there was a question earlier about what swag you could select. There's examples of the t-shirts there in the middle. We've established a number of communication channels, the website, LinkedIn. We have a YouTube channel, and we have a growing body of videos that we're recording, including videos from sessions like this that we record and post on the YouTube. We also use a mailing list to communicate updates to the team. As Emily mentioned, we plan a lot of meetings. So we have our working group meetings, which many of them happen every 2 weeks. We have quarterly meetings with our collaboration advisory board. We have 2 center meetings and 4 EAB meetings each year. So there's a lot of meeting planning that goes on. And so the administrative team helps us do that. And as Talia mentioned, we manage a number of subawards. I think we're up to 20 subawards now. And we also help collect a lot of the inputs that are then submitted when we do our various reports, all through the administrative working group. So, we're tracking a number of metrics. The visibility of the center is quite high, both on the web and LinkedIn. A lot of participants, lots of people get our emails and receive our emails and start to come to our meetings. So that's all been very exciting to build this community. And as I said before, probably the pinnacle of meeting planning, and perhaps the most challenging one we've had, was last year's Spectrum Week, which had all these different components of the NSF Spectrum research community, as well as these other events located at the same time. So we set some pretty audacious goals for ourselves as the National Center for Spectrum Research, SpectrumX, and we think we're making lots of great progress. We'd love your feedback on all of this, either in the sessions or on the side channels. But let me go ahead and come back to the goal. I'm going to end this briefing at this point and just remind you of the goals for the center meeting. I would say we've crossed off our first goal. Hopefully, if you're new to the center, you have a better sense of what we're all about and where you might get engaged. If you've been around for a while, hopefully you saw some interesting updates. Something intrigued you that we've made some great progress. Throughout the rest of these meetings and these sessions, we're going to be showcasing research. We're going to be engaging with spectrum policy and research policymakers, talking about various issues there. We'll be providing some more updates on education and workforce development, and we'll be talking about the long-term sustainability of this center as we go forward.